Hello, welcome back. In my last video, I discussed the American Revolution, the French Revolution, and the Haitian Revolution. In this video, I like to discuss the War of 1812, the Trail of Tears, and the Civil War. The American War for Independence or Revolutionary War created a feeling of unity amongst the white colonists who saw themselves as Americans. This feeling of unity would soon diminish, however, ultimately setting the stage for the Civil War. Now, all 13 colonies allowed slavery. It was legal and participated in every colony. We nowadays generalize slaves' work as being mainly agricultural, but nothing could be further from the truth. They worked numerous tasks from sailors, animal trappers, tailors, mining, shipping, and everything in between. There was a brief uniting moment during the War of 1812 when the Americans felt they had to protect their sovereignty, but ultimately the U.S. would gain in that war, led to more division in the Civil War. After the War of 1812, the Native Americans were systemically removed from their land that they lived on for thousands of years, or land that they had relocated to seeking peace and now having to be located again. This created what was known as the Trail of Tears, in which half the population of the Creek, Cherokee, and Seminole died on their way to Oklahoma as a result of disease or starvation. As I detailed in a previous video, blacks would escape to Indian territories in Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, and other places as well. It was like true freedom: gambling, drinking, dancing, polygamy. It was in the Indian territories that the black man and the black woman got to express themselves. It wasn't necessarily that you had to do any of these things. It was just the fact that you could do these things without being judged or even possibly being subjected to violence. But this freedom was short lived. When the whites started to move in, they passed laws restrictive to what they referred to as hedonistic savagery. Some blacks were able to escape to Oklahoma and even New Spain, present day Mexico. But many made it, but how many made it and how many died along the way are figures we'll probably never know. With these new slave states arriving and supporting the interests of slave owners in Congress, free states became increasingly worried that their interests would fall to the slavers, who were particularly rich and powerful in the plantation-based Delta regions. The free states mostly shipped raw materials to Europe to be turned into finished goods that they would then buy back. After the Revolutionary War, many of these factories in the North increasingly looked to make goods at a factory in the U.S. and sell them back to the consumers in the U.S. Slavery made raw materials cheaper for obvious reasons, but slavery does not build a large consumer base because the slaves aren't paid. Not to mention, slavery is a system held up on dehumanization, intimidation, and separation of family, rape, and just about everything else bad. So, needless to say, the slaves probably wouldn't be interested in buying mass produced European and American goods to begin with. Without getting into all the details, all the southern states from Delaware to Texas voted against Abraham Lincoln. They did not, however, vote in unison and lost the election. Lincoln did not want to abolish slavery, rather keep it from expanding into the new western states. The Southerners saw the end of slavery as detrimental to their way of life. They declared secession, establishing a breakaway state, the Confederate States of America. After 4 years of harsh fighting, disease, and nearly the entire South being burned down, the CSA surrendered. There were two main reasons for this. Number one was the scorched earth policy employed by William Tecumseh Sherman. The South had long been underfunded because of the three-fifths clause, which would be important in the decade to follow. This underfunding led to a lack of infrastructure, mainly railroads to move supplies. Instead of getting into costly and violent skirmishes, Sherman realized that further crippling the supply chain of the South was the best way to win the war. The number two reason was the Emancipation Proclamation. This did several things. It made Europeans not recognize the Confederacy because all of the Europeans had already outlawed slavery. And the proclamation did not outlaw slavery, but it did guarantee freedom for the slaves who ran away to the Union, in which more than 1 million slaves did. After the end of the war, the assassination of President Lincoln, the U.S. entered a period dubbed Reconstruction. It was out of Reconstruction that black music would make leaps and strides forward, allowing for a new form of black expression and liberation. On the next on the next video, I detail the Reconstruction period, which gave us the blues and jazz. Though gospel preceded them, what we know today as gospel was greatly influenced by both of them. Thank you for watching, everyone. Please like, comment, and subscribe.